Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's DAF, Bava Metzia DAF Lamed Daled. We are holding on Lamed Gimel Lamed Beis, 4 lines off the bottom. So in the Mishnah we learned that the owner of the pikadon, of the deposited item, at times it can be a behemoth or kelim, is more than happy to have the shomer, the fellow guarding the item, who lost it or who, in this case, had it stolen from him, when the shomer comes forth and offers to compensate the owner, instead of just swearing and walking away, he offers to pay for the stolen item. The owner is appreciative of that, and he says, look, you're so nice to me and I want to give you something. I want to give you that potential perk that might come about if in fact the ganav is located down the road. In which case he has to pay not only the keren, the principal, he has to add the fine, the double payment, the kefil, or the dalad v'hei, if he shechts or sells it. So the Mishnah tells us that the owner grants that privilege, that right, that collection right to the shomer. Here comes a question. How? Technically speaking, how does this commitment, how does this transaction take place? How does the shomer gain rights to the kefil? When does it happen? Here comes a question. When the shomer comes forth and offers to compensate, look, I know the item was stolen, you feel bad, here, take the money. At that point we say, okay, the owner accepts payment, but in return grants the shomer the right to collect that potential kefil. But is that kefil already here? Is it in the present or is it in the future? It's not here yet. It's davar she'aloi b'lo'olam. It hasn't yet materialized. How can you sell? How can you give something which you don't even have yet? It doesn't even exist. Even according to Rabbi Meir's shita, that you can, in some cases, affect a transaction, a kinyan, on something which has yet to arrive. But that's in specific cases where you expect it to come and it's sort of almost here, right? You sell him the produce of your palm tree. You can do that because you expect it. It's going to happen. According to the laws of nature, of Teva, you're going to have those dates next spring. They're bound to come. So it makes sense to talk about them. It makes sense to sell them or to give them. They're things which are anticipated. They're expected within the realm of reasonability, of reality, right? But here, by the kefil of the ganav, it's a shot in the dark. So let's go back a step. When the owner gives the animal to the shomer, okay, please watch over it, all that, right? So at that early point, it must be, says Rashi, that the kinyan for the shomer, the moment that he acquires that ability to eventually take the kefil from the ganav, if it will be stolen from him, etc., etc. Evidently, that process must be triggered, must be initiated early, way back, when the owner gives the animal to the shomer. Rashi says, "Shemash chamimeno das amanas kain." In which case, we view the shomer's meshicha, the kinyan on the animal, with this in mind. He's taking it with this in mind, that eventually, if in fact it gets stolen and he comes forth like a nice boy and offers payment, then he'll get the rights to this animal. But the thing is that at that early point in the process, it's so far out, it's so unlikely that it's going to materialize into a kefil payment. Why? Who says it's going to be stolen to begin with? That's number one. Even if it will be stolen, who says we'll locate the ganav? Who will pay the kefil? Even if you locate the ganav, we're still not done. Who says he's going to pay the kefil? Remember, kefil is a fine, it's a knas. He has an easy way out. He admits, yeah, I stole it, and then he's pater from kefil. So basically, you're three steps removed from actually materializing this dream. So how can you say that the owner gave this to the shomer? It's not a reality. Amar Rabba, the answer is like this. the way we get around this problem is like this. It's as though the owner told the shomer, when he gives him the animal way back when, to watch, it's as though he told him at that point, look, it's presumed that this is his, thinking. If in fact it will be stolen, you'll be happy to pay me, right? You'll be willing to come forth with payment. If that happens, Hare Parasi, I'm giving you a right to this animal from now, so it's retroactive. It's not going to happen then. If it's stolen and you pay, you have it from today. And right now, the animal's here. So he's giving him with that in mind. So now it works. So Mafreya, retroactive, is different. Because when you pay me, it's yours starting from way back when, from today. If that's the case, that the owner is actually granting ownership of this cow, if in fact it gets stolen and he pays. So basically, when he does pay for the Geneva, it's his retroactively from Rosh Chodesh Cheshvan, when he got it from the owner, right? So it's totally his animal, which earns him the rights to all the benefits resulting from this animal, all the income produced from this animal, including the kefil. But hold it, there's another benefit. The animal produces shearings, wool, right? Offspring, let him get that too. If it's truly his animal, the shamer actually becomes the owner, so let him get everything. Let him get the shearings and the offspring. Why did we learn otherwise? Raisa says chutz, he doesn't get that. If it's his all the way. It's as though he told it, we assume. His mindset is, yeah, it's yours, except chutz, you can get the extras, but not the actual basic, products that an animal produces. The shearings and the offspring. Umay Pascha, what brings us to that conclusion? How do we know what he had in mind? Start with the most, it's presumed. External benefits, external income, like kefil, which is not from the animal itself. A person is willing to give it to the shaman, but he's not willing to give away, the basic products that an animal produces. That's, why should he give that away? That's absolute, it's predictable, he wants to keep that. He's willing to give him, the chance to collect the kefil. So, basically, we had a kasha. How could you give something which doesn't yet exist? The kefil is not yet here. The answer is no, he's giving him ownership of the animal itself, pertaining to the kefil. How do we get around the question of the gizos and volodos? We answered that, that was accepted from the deal. There was another version, Amarava. So the question was, why doesn't the shaman also get ownership of the gizos, right? The volodos. The answer is like this. We interpret the deal between them is like this. It's as though the owner tells them, when it will be stolen and you will offer payment, I'm not giving it to you from today. I'm giving it to you from the moment before, one moment prior to the theft. That's when it's yours. So it's not a problem of davar shlei b'lo'elam because the animal's there. It's in existence, right? So he's giving him ownership of the animal, but not from today, rather from the moment before the Geneva. So now we sort of circumvented the question of the gizos and volodos, all the shearings and etc. that the animal produced from now till then, of course, belongs to the real owner, right? So we sort of got around that question. My benaya, so what difference between the first pshat and the second pshat? First pshat was that when the owner actually hands the animal to the shomer way back when, he's giving him ownership if in fact it gets stolen and he pays for it. And the second pshat is that the transfer of ownership occurs a moment before the theft. But now the difference is Kush Reb Zera. Beautiful, because Reb Zera had a question. Reb Zera wanted to know what happened to the gizos and volodos. Why doesn't that go to the shomer? So, we had a hard time trying to address that question. And according to the second teretz, very simple. He only assumes ownership the moment before theft. So of course, anything that the animal produced up until that point goes to the real owner. Inami, another difference between these two pshatim is the kaima ba'agam. Suppose the animal was sitting in a ownerless public area, a gagam, some swamp, some grazing area, not in the chatzar, not on the property of the shomer. So now, if we go with the first version that the owner grants ownership at the moment of transfer, when he gives him the animal, way back when, he gave him ownership rights, if in fact this development will occur, so the shomer is kind of, because at that point he made a mashicha, he took it, he made a kinyan. But if the ownership only occurs, the transfer only occurs a moment before the theft, and at that point the animal was not in the chatzar of the shomer, how does the shomer going to be kind of? He has to make an act, a ma'isa of mashicha, an act of acquisition, which he doesn't have here. So it doesn't work. So that would be the difference between the two pshat. Bottom line, the shomer gets rights to the kefil. What do you mean? Davar shalei b'la'olam. No, he had ownership in the animal retroactively. Either retroactive from the moment of handing it to him, or a moment before the theft. Shilam v'l'ratz l'shava, the shomer offered to pay, rather than swear, he gets the kefil. Here comes a chiddush. Lo shilem, when we say paying, it doesn't mean shilem mamash, he actually paid. Even just offering payment is enough, because he's putting the owner at ease. Look, I'm not going to give you a hard time. Here, take the money. Once he declared his willingness to pay, that's enough to give him the rights to the kefil. It's not, but the Mishnah says, he paid. He actually paid. Only if he paid. Without paying, it doesn't work. Apparently, you need actual payment, not like Rabbi Yehuda. That offering is enough. Well, let's move on to the next part of the Mishnah. He opted to swear rather than pay. In that case, he doesn't get the kefil. Let's make a deal. That's only because he was unwilling to pay. But if he was willing, that's enough. Even though he didn't actually hand the money over, that's enough. So we have sort of conflicting inferences in the Mishnah. We don't really have a clear-cut conclusion from the Mishnah. Is which one is the which one to go with. But bottom line, Rabbi Yehuda clearly tells us that expressing willingness, offering to pay, that's enough. Tanika said Rabbi Yehuda, in fact, we have a brayso which supports Rabbi Yehuda's contention. Oh, here we go to a renter. You rent a cow. The nignavana gets stolen. V'amar lo, the renter says, look, I'm going to give you an easy time. I already mishalim and ishba. I'm just going to pay for it rather than denying and swearing. No. So he paid it up. No, he offered to pay. Then we track down the ganav. And he's going to pay kefil, right? Mishalim tashlum kefil to who? L'seicher. Although the seicher didn't actually lay out the money yet, but he expressed willingness. He offered. That's enough. Like Rabbi Yehuda. Omar Papa. Let's go down the list of all possible situations. All possible shomrim, right? We have the shomer chinam who's watching it for free. We have the shomer sachar getting paid a fee. We have the seicher who's renting. We have a shayel, a fellow who's borrowing the item. Now, shomer chinam kiven shama pashati. Shomer chinam admits that he was negligent. I'll tell you, I was negligent. That's how it got stolen. And here, take payment, right? Makn lekfela. In this case, the owner grants him the right to access the kefil if in fact the ganav is located. You know why? Because he was an upstanding fellow. He paid straightforward. Because the shomer chinam had an option to walk away. He could have claimed that it was stolen, it was lost. He didn't. He admitted to the facts. He was negligent. He offered to pay. He gets the kefil. Likewise, shomer sachar, a fellow who's being paid to watch. Once he admits that it was stolen and he's obligated on that, the owner gives him the kefil for the same reason, because he was a cooperative individual, because he always had that choice of pater nafshi b'shvuro mesa. He could have claimed the animal, collapsed, it died, there was an illness, an accident. He didn't do that. So therefore, he has a right to the kefil. And finally, let's say a borrower says, look, I'm responsible, I want to pay. In this case, he doesn't get the kefil. You know why? He had no way out. A shayl is fully responsible in all situations, pretty much. But what excuse could he have come up with to exempt himself? He had no choice in the matter. There's only one. He could have claimed, look, I borrowed the animal to plow with it, and it died on the job. Which is the only instance that a shayl is pater, because after all he borrowed it to work with it, right? So he could have claimed that, but no, it's not a realistic option. It's so uncommon for it to happen in that fashion. So, he wouldn't have even alleged that it happened that way. So it's not really an option. So when he admitted that he's chayiv, he wasn't really doing us much favors, and therefore the owner is not willing to give him the kefil, because he just fulfilled his basic obligation. He didn't really come beyond the letter of the law. There's another version. Amar Papa, no, a shoyl as well, a borrower too. Shoyl not mikimin she'amar ani mashalom. Once he offers to pay, maknin like failure, the owner gives him the kefil, because after all, he did have a card in his pocket. The boy, because if he was willing, if he really wanted pater namshei b'meis machas malacha, he could have claimed that it died on the job. So since he didn't, rather he offered to pay, he gets the kefil. Amalei Rav Zvid. Rav Zvid responded to Rav Papa. Hachi Amar Abaye. You should know that Abaye said the shoyl at sheyishalem. In contrast to the shoyl machinam or shemesachar, which according to Rabbi Yehuda, the offer to pay is enough to give him the kefil. When it comes to a shoyl, you know what? A shoyl has so much personal benefit. He's borrowing the item, he's using it. I'm expecting more from him. Simply offering to pay is not enough. Achi yishalem. Once he pays, then he gets the kefil. Otherwise not. My time of why? Why is he different? Since he's fully benefiting from the item, he was enjoying it. He was using it without having to lay out a nickel. B'dibura, just by simply offering verbally, that's not enough. Lo machnik kefil is not going to give him the kefil. Tanaka will say to Rav Zvid, we have a riot to this point. Hashol par mechaber, you borrow a cow, v'nignava, and it got stolen. V'kidem hashol be'shilem, the borrower steps forward and he pays. He pays. Then we track down the thief. Mishal tashlem kefil. Who does he pay the kefil? A shoyl, because he earned the rights to the kefil because he paid. Okay, so it's a right to Rav Zvid that payment is required to give him in order to give him the rights. Now let's go back a second. Rav Papa told us there are two versions of Rav Papa. In the first version, Rav Papa says that the shoyl who verbally offers to pay doesn't get the kefil. In the second version, Rav Papa told us no, even a shoyl who offered to pay gets the kefil. Now this brisa says the shoyl will get kefil if he pays, if he actually pays. Listen to comment of Rav Papa, vadali abitiyufta. So this isn't going to be a kasha to the first lashon of Rav Papa, who says that if he offers to pay, he doesn't get the kefil, but if he pays, he actually pays, he'll get the kefil, as per the brisa. However, listen to Basra, according to the second version of Rav Papa, that even offering to pay is enough. So perhaps the brisa, which says that he only gets the kefil if he actually pays, is a kasha. Rav Papa, no. Why is the brisa superior to our Mishnah? What does our Mishnah say? The Tani, it says Shilam, right? The Shoyma paid. And we learned before, it doesn't mean paid, it means offered to pay. Vokimna, but Amar, he offered to pay. Chanam, here as well in the Brisa. The Shoyl paid? No, it didn't pay. But Amar, he offered to pay. And that's enough to give him the rights to the kefil. Midam, how could you compare the two things? Hasam like Tani Kidim, the Mishnah just says Shilam. So it can mean offered to pay. Hachak Tani Kidim, here it says that the shoyl, the kidim hashoyl, he came forth and he jumped ahead and he really was cooperative. Kidim means he really participated, he's cooperative, he offered, he volunteered, he initiated. So it sounds like more than just speaking. He actually came up with the money. Hachitani kidim. No, ma kidim. What kidim means? Kidim ba'amar. He immediately offered cooperation and he offered to pay. And that's enough to give him the kefil. Asks the Gemara, hold it. If you back up a bit, we had another brisa, a seicher who offered to pay, Amar, he offered to pay, that's enough to give him the kefil. So there we employ the lashon Amar. As opposed to the brisa which discusses the shoyl, we have a unique expression, kidem, a different type of a phrase, right? So it sounds like two different things. Apparently, by the seicher, Amar is enough. By the shoyl, payment is required. Verbal, offering is not enough. Well, who says the two brises were studied next to each other in the same base medrash, in which case the discrepancy in phraseology would reflect a different, interpretation. Perhaps, the Tana of this brisa chose this language, and the Tana of the other brisa chose a different mode of expression, but they're both one and the same point, offering to pay. So the Gemara, Shalinu l'Tanoi, but actually they investigated the matter. They asked the experts in the brises, the Tanoi of Beit Reb Chia, Reb Moshe, the Tanoim, and those Batei Medrash, those yeshivas, who were experts. They compiled the brises. Actually, they confirmed that these brises were learned next to each other. Gavadali Tanya, they were learned in close proximity. So basically, since they were learned together in the Beis Medrash, and one Bryce mentions Amar, the other one mentions Kidem, it sounds very likely that Kidem means specifically paid his money, and in fact by Yishael, he will only get the kefil if he actually paid. Okay, let's go back a bit to Rabbi Yehuda, who tells us that simply by declaring willingness to pay, right? If the Shomer Chinam declared Hareini Mishalem, that's enough. Pshita. So this following case is pretty clear. Amar Eini Mishalem. Suppose initially he refused to pay. No, I'm not going to pay. I'm going to swear. I'm going to walk away. And then he retracted, came around. V'chazer Amar Hareini Mishalem, willing to pay. And now we found the Ganav. What happens? Hakam Hareini Mishalem. Fact is, he came around. He offered to pay, so he gets the kefil. Elo Amar Hareini Mishalem. But suppose he started by offering the money. V'chazer Amar Eini Mishalem. Then he came around and turned down the offer. No, he retracted his offer. I'm not going to pay. What's the halacha now? Shall we say he retracted his offer? He's no longer entitled to the kefil. Or really, his offer is still outstanding. His earlier offer, but he's just trying to delay things. It's sort of a delay tactic. I'm not going to pay. Really, he means to pay, but he needs a couple of days to put it together. So perhaps he still retains the right to the kefil. Interesting shaila. Next question. We have a string of questions. Omar, suppose initially he would have said, Hareini Mishalem, I'm going to pay. Umeis, he passed away. His kids came to the fore and they said, V'amru banav eino Mishalem, no, we're not paying. And then we discover the Ganav. What happens? Shall we say that they're retracting their father's offer and they're no longer entitled? Certainly they want to uphold their father's offer, but they're having a hard time financially. They're just trying to delay things, but really they plan on sticking to his offer. Next question. Suppose the father was with the shomer, and the animal was stolen, right? And he didn't have a chance to really deal with the owner. And the kids did. The kids came forward and said, we're going to pay. Right? Either they paid or they offered. What's the halach in this case? Do they get the kefil, or perhaps this whole sugya, this whole halacha of getting the kefil is specific to the father himself, who was an acquaintance of the owner? Motzi amalu, can the owner say to the kids, look, sorry kids, I was willing to give the kefil to your father. He's a good friend of mine. He helped me out many times, but you're strangers to me. It doesn't apply to you. It doesn't matter. Father, kids, all the same thing. Next question. Shilam libanamai. Suppose the shomer paid to the owner's kids. So basically the item was stolen, right? And the shomer is willing to pay to the kids of the owner. What happens now? Is he zoich in the kefil or not? Matzu amrle. Perhaps the kids can claim to the shomer, our father was willing to give the kefil to you because he was a good friend of yours. Because you helped him, you were friendly with him, you offer, you were his right-hand man. But between you and us, we have no relationship, so therefore we're not willing to give you anything. No, makes no difference. Next question. Suppose both original parties are not around anymore. The shomer and the owner passed away, now the kids are dealing with the kids and they're offering to pay. Next question. Suppose the shomer initially offered to pay half. Does he get half the kefil or not? Next question. Let's say he borrowed 2 animals and something happened and he paid for one. So on the one hand you can say offering half payment is not enough. In the previous question, offering half payment is not enough. It's either all or nothing. But here it's a bit different because when he pays for half, it's really paying for a full animal. So perhaps that's considered paying in full for this animal. So he gets the kefil of that animal. Right? What's the halacha? Next question. Suppose he borrowed an animal from 2 partners, right? an animal owned by Shutfin, and when the mishap occurred, he paid half of the value to one of the partners. He paid him his part. Does he get at least that part of the kefil or not? Right, might. Shutfin sheshalom. What about the reverse case? You have two partners borrowing an animal from an owner, and this mishap occurs. V'shilam echad men, and one of the borrowers decided to pay. Might. What happens now? Does he get at least, half the rights or not? Shalmana isha v'shilam lebalamai. Suppose a person borrows a para that belonged to a married woman, and instead of paying the isha, he paid the husband. Does he get the kefil or not? Shall we say, look, he didn't pay the owner. On the other hand, the owner, the husband, is administering her assets, so he's a player, and paying to him is tantamount to paying to the owner, which gives you the right to kefil. And finally, isha sheshala v'shilim balamai. Go the other way around. A married woman borrowed an animal, and the animal, something happened, right? And now, right, it was stolen. And now the husband stepped forward and stepped up to the plate and paid for the isha. On the one hand, the owner got compensated. He should be giving him the kefil. On the other hand, it wasn't coming from the borrower themselves. It was coming through a third party, the owner, the husband. So basically, in all these questions taken, we let it stand. We haven't really resolved them. Amar Rav Huna. The Mishnah says if the shomer decides to pay rather than swear, right, and then the ganav is located, he pays the kefil to the shomer. Comes Rav Huna and says, look, don't think you're totally absolved from swearing. You still have to make one shvuah. Even when the shomer decides to pay, to compensate the owner, he has to make one shvuah midrabanan, which is, I'm swearing that the item is no longer in my possession. It was really stolen. Why? Why is this so important? My time, I'm concerned. Perhaps the shomer appears to be more generous than he really is. He laid his eyes on the item. He likes the animal. So he pocketed the animal, pretending that it was stolen. He's paying for it. Like a generous fellow, really, he took it to himself. So he has to make a shvuah that he doesn't have it in his possession. Maybe we're going to have a kasha on this halacha. There's a Mishnah in Maseches Shvois. Hamavas chaver ala mashkin. Reuben lent Shimon money on a mashkin in exchange for collateral, right? Vavad mashkin, Reuben misplaced the collateral. The question is who owes who, right? V'amar loy, and now we have several cases. Okay, so we have here the first case, the lender is the one launching the claim. Reuben to Shimon. Reuben says to Shimon, look, I gave you a full selah. A selah is worth 2 shekel. I'll let you a full selah. And your mashkin was a measly shekel or yeshava, was only worth a half of a selah, only worth a shekel. So fine, I lost it. Okay, so let's deduct the shekel, but you still owe me a shekel. What does Shimon, how does Shimon respond? Shimon says, no, what are you talking about? The loan is paid in full, because the mashkin was worth a full selah. You only lent me a selah because I gave you a mashkin worth a selah, and you lost it. So we're even Steven. Like you, it's not so. Ella selah, v'sani elav. True, you lent me a selah, but selah yeshava, the item that gave us was a selah, and you lost it, pater. So now Shimon is in total denial. It's called a kefir hakoilis pater. Case number 2. Once again, Reuben is opening the claim by saying, selah b'sicha alav, I lent you a selah, right? Same as before. Shekel yeshava, but the item was only worth a shekel. So basically the same claim as before, you owe me a shekel. And Shimon responds by saying, look, part right and part wrong. Loiki, it's inaccurate. Ella selah v'sani elav. True, you lent me a selah, but the item was worth more than a shekel. Shloisha dinarim ha'yeshava. It was worth 3/4 of a selah. A selah has 4 dinar. So now he's partially admitting to Reuven's claim, because he's admitting that he still owes him something. He can deduct 3/4 of the selah, but he owes him a quarter. Chayev, then Shimon has to make a shvuah. Okay, so this is the first part of the brisa where Reuven, the lender, is the one launching the claim. Now we have the seifa of the Mishnah, where Shimon, the borrower, is one that's is the one that who's launching the claim against the lender. He claims to be owed money now. Selah v'sani elav. Says Shimon to Reuven, you know what? Remember you lent me a selah, right? But I gave you a mashkin, and it was worth double. Beis hayeshava. You lost it, right? Pay me back. Give me at least a selah. Reuben denies it. He says, "Loiki, it's not true. It's true. I lent you a sela, but the item was worth no more than a sela. Sela yeshava." So he's totally denying the claim. Potter, he doesn't have to pay. In the fourth case, we have sela v'sani olav. Once again, Shimon is starting by claiming that he borrowed a sela from Reuben, but shnaima yeshava, but the item that he gave him in exchange was worth 2, so he owes him back 1. Reuben denies. He says, "Loiki, it's not true. I lent you a sela. Hey, did not yeshava. The mashkin was worth 5 dinar. Right? A sela is 4 dinar, so it was worth 5 dinar, and I lost it. So he claims he lost it. So now I have to give you back how much? 1 dinar, right? Because I lent you a sela. The mashkin was worth a sela plus a dinar, so the sela, first sela is sort of cancelled out because of the loan, and I owe you the extra dinar. Chayav, so his shvua is in place because he's a Bava Metzia. He's partially admitting to Shimon's claim. The question is, who makes the shvua? Mi nishba. Mi shapikodin etzli. Who makes the shvua? The one who was in possession of the mashkin. You know why? The malva, lender. Why? Shemi yishavazeh. Because the concern is that if the loiver is the one that steps up and makes the shvua to confirm the value of the mashkin, you know what might happen? Perhaps the mashkin is really here. It was never misplaced. And the malva might produce the pikadon, to produce the mashkin. He's setting up the loiver for failure. He's going through this whole back and forth, this argument, and he's compelling the loiver to make a shvua, hoping that he's going to swear in a way that it can be disproven, simply by pulling out the mashkin and proving the loiver wrong. Wants to get him into trouble, right? So therefore we say, look, you know what? You're having this disagreement. Somebody has to make a shvua, rather than have the loiver swear, which carries the danger of being proven false, and if you swear falsely, become pasul eidos, right? We don't want to risk that. So rather than having the loiver swear, we say to the malva, look, you're the one that has had the pikadon, right? You're the one who has access to the item. You make the shvua to confirm the numbers. Okay, so that's the Mishnah. Mi nishma, misha pikadon etzloi, right? Shema yishavazeh, concerned that if the loiver makes a shvua, the malva might produce the pikadon, the item, and disprove the loiver's words. Ahai, now, these words, this halacha of the Mishnah, instructing the malva to swear, not the loiver, what case is it pertaining to? Remember, we had a reisha, where the malva launched the claim. We have the seifa, where the loiver launched the claim. Ilema seifa is going on the second part of the Mishnah, where it turns out that the malva is in partial denial, right? So in any case, who makes the shvua? The one who's Bava Metzia, the malva. So without any additional factors, the malva in any case is making the shvua, right? So in any case, the shvua gabi malvi. In any case, the malva is making the shvua without all these concerns. He's the one that's partially admitting to the borrower's claim. Rather says Shmuel, we're going back to the first part of the Mishnah, where the lender is the one that's launching the claim against the borrower. We had 2 cases there, remember? Maya Reisha. What do you mean the Reisha? Which part of the Reisha? I say for the Reisha. The second part of the Reisha, which involves the loiva being maida to part of the malva's claim. I'll say for the Reisha. So what happened? The lender claimed, Sela, I lent you a Sela for the mashkin. Shekel yeshava. You gave me a mashkin, it was only worth half. It was worth a shekel. I lost it, fine, but now at least give me the other shekel. And the owner says, what are you talking about? Loiki, it's not true. Ella Sela l'sani olav. You lent me a Sela, that's true. Shloisha dinar hayeshava, but the item that I gave you was worth more than just a shekel. It was worth 3/4 of a Sela. So true, I owe you something because it's not a full Sela. Chayev, so now he's chayev a shvua. The shvua gabi loiva, who? So in this case, minat Torah, the loiva has to swear because he's a Bava Metzia, but we make exception because of that concern of becoming apostle. But Amar Rabban say, look, instead of the loiva making a shvua, we transfer the shvua to the malva, who had access to the item. So he doesn't play any tricks. The malva makes a shvua. Shema, because we're concerned, Shema Yishavazeh, if the loiva swears as to the value of the item, he might be proven false through the malva who's setting him up for failure. So therefore, the malva makes a shvua. Now the question is, Vim Isa, Lid Rav Huna. Now according to Rav Huna's idea, that when a shamer who comes forth and admits to the item being stolen from him and offers to pay, he's still obligated to confirm that the item is not in his possession, right? So over here as well, the malva sort of takes the place of the shamer. The malva is the one who had the mashkin here, and he claims to have lost it, right? So basically, he's compensating the borrower for the lost item, right? So it's a very similar case to our Mishnah. If we're going to go with Rav Huna's idea, so once we compel the malva to make that special shvuah, I swear the item is not in my possession. So that allays our fears, that addresses any concerns that we may have that the malva might pull out the pigadon. He doesn't have it. He made a shvuah as such. How could he produce the item? Okay, so we'll see Bez Hashem tomorrow. We'll have several terutzim to discuss. Bottom line, we learned the technical procedure of how the shomer gets rights to the kefil. Rabbi Yehuda had a chiddush. Even simply offering to pay is sufficient to grant him those rights. We had a string of questions regarding children and husbands and wives, all that. Rav Huna's chiddush, that even though he's willing to pay, but just to confirm that he didn't lay his hands on it, we make him swear, shvuah she'ena b'rshusay. All the best to you and Hatzlacha Rabbah.